Welcome to the SEO.co Search Engine Optimization Podcast. Digital marketing essentials and next-level tactics. From off-site and on-site optimization to persuasive selling and everything in between. You'll learn actionable tips on what it takes to outright and outrank your competition.
Welcome back to another episode of the SEO.co podcast. Today we're continuing the series on mobile SEO, and we're going to start with how to adjust your current SEO strategy. For the most part, mobile SEO is going to function the same as traditional SEO. You're still going to function on user experience, on-site content, off-site backlinks, and the same navigational improvements that lead to higher ranks. In terms of your ongoing strategy, there isn't much you'll need to improve on as long as your strategy is currently in order. To start things off, you'll need to optimize your site for a mobile layout. The specifics are up to you, but you'll need to ensure that your site loads appropriately and quickly. Perform multiple tests on multiple devices to ensure that your site is loading the way it should, and don't hesitate to consult Google Webmaster Tools to see if your site is registering as optimized for mobile. From there, you'll need to do periodic tests for your page loading times and to ensure that the full content of your site is available on all mobile devices. It's worth pointing out that Google doesn't care how you optimize your site for mobile, as long as it's optimized in some way. Whether you choose responsive, mobile URLs, or dynamic content, Google will consider your site optimized for mobile, and you'll rank accordingly. Your users likely won't care what type of mobile optimization strategy you use either, as long as you're giving them the best possible experience. That being said, your decision should come down to your own personal preferences. From a technical standpoint, responsive designs are generally the cleanest. They only require one redesign to be complete, and the ongoing maintenance is pretty much non-existent, at least when compared to dynamic content or mobile URL strategies. Plus, you'll eliminate the vulnerability of failing to accurately judge the type of device being used to access it. After optimizing your design and structure for mobile, there are a handful of ongoing strategies you can use to boost your rank in mobile searches, even beyond the strategies of a traditional SEO campaign. First, decrease your page loading times. Mobile devices load pages slower than desktop versions. Make sure your mobile design is optimized for lightning-fast download times. Keep plenty of content on your pages. Since mobile users need things quick, it may be tempting to reduce your on-page content, but keep as many words on the page as appropriate to maximize the amount of content Google can crawl. And lastly, avoid the temptation to use pop-ups. Pop-up ads are seeing a resurgence, especially for companies trying to push their mobile application specifically to mobile users. Doing so can devalue user experience, increase page loading times, and decrease your domain authority in Google's eyes. Now that the mobile landscape is out of the way, and you have a good idea of what you can expect from mobile optimization, let's dig into the details of exactly what mobile optimization entails. These are mostly a series of on-site changes that you can implement to make your site appear and perform better on mobile and alternative devices. But there are many options when it comes to implementation and, of course, testing. Let's start with the basics. These are the hallmarks of mobile optimization that you can't ignore, and following all of them will put you in pretty good shape to be qualified as mobile-friendly. Don't block CSS, images, or JavaScript. These are all coding elements or types of content that you may be tempted to block from Google search crawlers, or otherwise disable for your users, to ensure a good mobile experience. You need to keep all of these elements present and available to Googlebot, as well as other search crawlers, or you'll run into indexation problems. All the mobile optimizing and high-quality content in the world won't do you much good if Google isn't indexing your site in the first place. Next, ensure all your images and videos load properly. This is a crucial step, as most mobile browsers and devices function differently than desktop-based means of accessing content. You may find that on some mobile browsers, your content loads perfectly fine, but on others, all you see is a file not found or some similar message. This is bad news, both for human visitors and search crawlers, so if you discover one of these compatibility problems, you're going to need to update your site. You'll also want to make sure these images and videos are loading quickly, but that's a separate bullet point altogether. Next, make your text visible without zooming or scrolling. One of Google's biggest concerns with mobile friendliness is the convenience and navigability of your site. Design is important, but realistically, your text is the most important material on your site. If users have a hard time reading that text, your site isn't doing its job. So to optimize your site for mobile, you need to ensure that all of the text on your site is visible, in essence, readable, without the need for users to zoom or scroll horizontally. Next up, make buttons finger clickable. No matter how much you love using your mobile device, you have to admit that the precision of an old-school computer mouse handily outperforms the clumsiness of your own fingers. When it comes to buttons, menus, drop-downs, choices, and other interactive elements, precision is notoriously difficult. If you want your site to be mobile-friendly, all those actionable elements need to be easily navigable with fingers. There's no hard rule for this, such as the recommended size of a button, but you can generally rely on your best judgment. Test it and see how you're able to fare with your own fingers. This is more intuitive than it is programmatic or mathematical. Next up, improve your page's loading speed. Page loading time is a significant website factor, primarily for user experience, but also for search ranking potential. Have you ever been to a web page that takes longer than a second or two to load? It's terrible. We should be ashamed of ourselves for our low attention spans, but it is terrible. If your site takes too long to load, your users won't even give you a chance. So keep your site as lean as possible by using the right image formats, reducing your multimedia sizes, cleaning old drafts and metadata, and using good caching plugins. The problem is compounded on mobile devices, since internet speeds are usually much slower, so you'll have to do double duty here. Next up, avoid Flash. Thanks in part to Apple's crackdown on Flash compatibility in iPhone and similar devices, Flash is pretty much obsolete these days. Unless you have some niche function that literally can't exist without Flash, or an already dedicated user base, there's no excuse to continue using it. It won't load properly on mobile devices, and it's only going to grow more archaic as the years roll on. And lastly, avoid pop-ups. Some pop-ups can be valuable, such as prompts to sign up for an email newsletter, but as much as possible, you'll want to disable these on mobile devices. Pop-ups are somewhat annoying on desktop devices, but on mobile devices, they're even worse. Not only is it harder to click them away with a finger, there's also the likelihood that you'll mispress and end up loading a bulky page you didn't intend. Don't put your users through this experience unless you have to. And that's all we've got for this episode. Thanks for joining us on the SEO.co podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode as we continue mobile SEO and how to increase mobile site speed. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for joining us on the SEO.co podcast. We appreciate your time. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show and visit SEO.co for more resources based on today's topic, as well as access to more podcast episodes to help you improve your site's long-term SEO success.